Marvel Rivals has arrived, and boy oh boy, it is filled with incredible Easter eggs. Today we're going to take a look at 25 Easter eggs hidden within the Shin Shibuya map for Marvel Rivals. Of course, if you guys do enjoy today's video, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you so very much for your support here on YouTube. And without further ado, as I always say, let's dive on in. So like most great Marvel video games, Marvel Rivals features Spider-Man as a playable character. However, you'll be surprised to know that you can actually see what Peter Parker looks like in this particular universe as well. As of right now, we don't have an unmasked costume for Spider-Man, so maybe this will be something that is available in the future. But if you head over to these giant printed poster boards that are kind of spread all throughout the map itself, you'll notice an unmasked Peter Parker is one of the images that is showcased. Next, let's talk about another fan favorite spider persona. This time it is Peter Porker, aka Spider-Ham, who seems to have set up a little bit of a side business as we see this ramen truck that features Porker Ramen, or maybe Parker Ramen. I don't know what the name of it is, but it does feature Spider-Ham as the icon for the franchise. It's going to be very interesting to see if Spider-Ham becomes a playable character or not. Could this be a possible teaser? Next, let's talk about an all-original Spider persona or variant that was created specifically for Marvel Rivals, and that is Spider-Punk 2099. They have actually confirmed that this is an all-original design, but not just that. This is actually a character that we still don't know who the actual persona under the mask is, as they have confirmed that it is supposedly not Hobie Brown. So I guess time will tell. Eventually we'll find out some of the lore behind who exactly is Spider-Punk 2099. And since we're on the topic of Spider-Punk 2099, you will see him present all throughout the Shin Shibuya map. You have these epic posters where it seems like Spider-Punk 2099 just does not get along with the bombastic Bagman of 2099, so they are battling it out in plenty of different areas, whether it be this kind of 8-bit design right here, or the posters that are plastered all throughout the map itself. And of course, beyond that, Spider-Punk is just simply present all across the map, but they're obviously very proud of their all-original design for Marvel Rivals. And since we're on the topic of spider personas, we do have, of course, the epic painted mural of Lifeweaver present on the map as well. Next, let's talk about this really interesting poster of some barbecue meats. Yes, I know it sounds bizarre, but I feel like a lot of people have not taken notice that beyond just the meats that's being advertised on this poster, yes, it features the 3 claws of Wolverine, which means that maybe, just maybe, Wolverine will be an upcoming playable character for Marvel Rivals. Sign me up. More X-Men would be really cool to see. And speaking of characters that might be closer than we think, there is clearly a Captain America that exists in the Marvel Rivals universe. He seems to be a character that you would expect to release early with the game itself, but as of right now in the closed alpha, he is not playable. However, he is featured beating down Dr. Doom 2099 in several different painted murals throughout the Shin Shibuya map. So if you pay attention, you'll actually spot him, and it is very clear that this might be very well what he looks like in Marvel Rivals when he actually arrives in the game. Another character that was showcased in that very same mural is, of course, Dr. Doom 2099, who is showcased in not just the mural with Captain America, but he gets his own posters all throughout the Shin Shibuya map as well. And additionally to that, of course, you actually get to battle the Doom bots, which are made to look like Dr. Doom to a certain extent. So I feel like this is pretty much a confirmation that at some point in time, I would expect Dr. Doom to actually be a playable character for Marvel Rivals as well. Next, let's talk about Yoshida, which is a really cool looking poster and logo that you might have spotted on the Shin Shibuya map. And once again, this is yet another reference to an epic Marvel character, most likely referring to Ichiro Yoshida, who is of course the Silver Samurai. He probably most famously would be known from that The Wolverine movie that was actually pretty cool if you haven't seen it. But with that in mind, of course, this could also be a possible teaser for Mariko Yoshida as well, who is, of course, the Scarlet Samurai. But the point being, it's just a really cool attention to detail. This next one is going to be extremely exciting because guess what? We might have a cool teaser for the Merc with the Mouth, aka Deadpool. When you head on over to these different parts of the map where there are these sticky notes, kind of like the yellow sticky notes that you would typically see IRL, you'll notice that a lot of them feature Spider-Man references and Spider-Punk references, but one clearly, at least to me, seems to display an emoji version of Deadpool's icon, which I think is super duper exciting because if we could possibly get the Merc with the Mouth in this game, sign me up, that would be incredible. Next, let's talk about the elephant in the room by the name of the Alchemax Corporation. It is all over the Shin Shibuya map. I mean, if you look all throughout, it is present pretty much everywhere, which I guess makes sense when you're doing a 2099 storyline. That is probably the most famous organization for that particular timeline. So it's obvious that it is kind of front and center. Typically speaking, it's the organization that goes toe-to-toe and causes a lot of troubles for one Miguel O'Hara, who's of course Spider-Man 2099, who, interestingly enough, doesn't really have any Easter eggs throughout this particular map, which is kind of surprising, but I would imagine that sooner rather than later, Marvel Rivals will do their own version of Miguel O'Hara as probably a skin or Spider-Man. This next Easter egg is going to make Daredevil fans super duper happy because the Ninja Store on the Shin Shibuya map features the Hand, which is of course the organization that typically goes toe-to-toe with Daredevil, which once again, of course, when I say that, I'm like, yo, Daredevil would be such a cool character to see appear in this game as well. But again, very cool little tip of the cap there to the man with no fear. Now, we did talk a little earlier that the Spider-Punk 2099 skin that is in Marvel Rivals is an all-original design and new character. However, if you know anything about Spider-Punk, you know that typically speaking, it's the one and only Hobie Brown who takes up that particular mantle. Well, the interesting thing about the Shin Shibuya map is that it does actually feature a spray-painted name tag for Hobie Brown. So even though it seems like they've got their own Marvel Rivals design for Spider-Punk, could this possibly confirm that we will get a regular Spider-Punk skin? I think that would be cool to see as well. Speaking of things that are cool to see, there's an epic giant advertisement on the Shin Shibuya map for SPDR, or the Spider Armor, which is of course the armor that Penny Parker wears. And the cool thing is that if you look in the bottom corner of that particular poster, you'll also notice that it does say Parker Industries. Again, a really cool little Easter egg. And speaking of posters and corners and I guess exciting Easter eggs, you might have noticed this poster that does say M and then it says Ultimate Version, and it seems to be a poster for some sort of a VR headset or something like that. And guess what? If you look down at the bottom, you'll notice that it does say Oscorp Inc., which of course is the famous company that one Norman Osborn starts up. So who knows, maybe eventually we'll get a little Green Goblin action in Marvel Rivals as well. And since we're on the topic of big giant companies within the Marvel universe, we do also get Stark Industries and Fujikawa Industries to team up all throughout the map on Shin Shibuya. They have kind of like different scientific headquarters all throughout, which look very cool. And then Fujikawa Industries itself has a mall on the Shin Shibuya map as well. And at the very top of that mall, I feel like that's one of the things that the vast majority of people don't actually notice, at least I didn't notice it as well, is a big giant epic projection of Black Panther, looking super duper stylish. And then if you head down into the Fujikawa Mall itself, you'll actually notice a hologram projection of one of the skins that you can unlock on the event pass for this particular season within the closed alpha test, and that would be of course the Galactic Patrol outfit for Mantis. One of my favorite details on the Marvel Rivals Shin Shibuya map is the sort of storytelling that they're starting to tell for the game itself. We see these kind of like wanted posters for Punisher, so obviously he's a wanted fugitive within this particular storyline, but then in addition to that, he does have these epic murals painted for him all throughout the map, as well as though maybe the citizens of Shin Shibuya are in support of Punisher. However, the government is trying to stop him. Now, of course, as you play on the Shin Shibuya map with the Conquest mode, you need to help out Spider-Zero. How do we know? Well, because there's a really cool hologram table that you could interact with, and Spider-Zero appears, letting you know that the goal that you're trying to accomplish is essentially help her to arrive on the Spider Islands in order to fix the life web. But the other cool thing that I don't know how I personally did not spot, and I was playing with a bunch of my friends as well, and they didn't notice it either, is that when you arrive to the very first capture point on the Shin Shibuya map, you'll notice this kind of spider vehicle, and that's really going to be the thing that you're trying to guide on its way towards your goal. However, look up, because there's this hologram cube within which you can actually notice Spider-Zero herself trapped inside, waiting to be delivered into that like vehicle that you'll be then escorting for the rest of the round. A very cool attention to detail. And speaking of really cool details, there is this one very obscure spray painted logo that I could only find in one spot on the map itself, which would be in the spawn point when you're on the attack side of things. You'll notice this burning skull logo next to 2099 and the word burning, which, I mean, after all, if you're a Marvel fan, you kind of definitely put 2 and 2 together and you think of, could this be a teaser of Ghost Rider? Next, I did want to bring up this one poster right here because I have seen a few people say that this looks and could possibly be a teaser of Cyclops. And at first, when I was walking towards this poster, I was like, whoa, that probably is a reference to Cyclops. But then when you get really close, you realize that it seems to just much more so advertise a VR headset of some sort, which when we put 2 and 2 together with that Ultimate Version Oscorp poster that I was talking about a little bit earlier, I think that maybe this is just an advertisement of that and not really a tease of Cyclops. Next, let's talk about one of the coolest, if not the coolest part on the entire Shin Shibuya map, and that is the Ghost Works Arcade. Now, the name of the arcade itself might very well be actually an Easter egg itself, because of course it could combine the names of 2 iconic Marvel villains, them being Ghost, who is the character that actually appeared in the MCU film, the second Ant-Man movie. So that would be the first part of Ghostworks Arcade, and then there is actually a villain by the name of Arcade as well. But then inside of the arcade itself, you'll also notice a really cool cabinet that is called War Tales, which once again, the font for it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Secret Wars, so maybe that's another reference in and of itself. But then more importantly, the game that is being played seems to feature 2 different Spideys battling Kingpin, which did make me think, how would Kingpin actually work in Marvel Rivals? That would be really cool to see. I would imagine he'd probably be a tank class or a Vanguard class. What do you guys think? Now, if you're a Doctor Doom fan, you probably also did spot that there is a really cool reference to one of Doctor Doom's companies, which would be Latverian Cybernetics. So it is actually present on the map as well out in the distance. And speaking of distances, and I guess running or covering distances very quickly, I was absolutely blown away by the fact that it seems like Quicksilver has gone into the business of selling shoes, because you'll notice a poster advertising some Quicksilver shoes available as well. If you're a fan of cats, you'll be happy to know that Spider-Cat makes his presence known on the Shin Shibuya map as well, because you'll see over on the left-hand side of the hand store that we already discussed before, you'll actually notice the kind of classic Lucky Cat design being done up to look like a spider persona as well. Next, we're going to head all the way to the back part of the Shin Shibuya map, where you'll notice this really cool projection of a bow and arrow, which of course makes one kind of think, if you're a Marvel fan, hey, what could that be possibly teasing? And in my mind, I think that's most definitely could be a reference to one Hawkeye. And last but certainly not least, there are 2 spray painted murals for a character that I am super excited to possibly see arrive in this game, and that would be Black Widow. Similarly to what we saw with Captain America, this is a full-on painted design of the character where we can clearly tell what the character might actually look like in Marvel Rivals, to the point that it might actually tease the idea that she might be a sniper type character, because it looks like she has some sort of a sniper rifle weapon. So very exciting to see yet another very kind of overt Easter egg and teaser for possibly an upcoming Marvel Rivals character. So there you guys have it. That is the Easter egg video for the Shin Shibuya map for Marvel Rivals. If you guys enjoyed the video, like I mentioned earlier, please consider leaving a like here on YouTube. Thank you guys so very much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. And if you guys enjoy this video, I'm going to get to working on the Ixgard maps so that you have a detailed outlook on what is present on those maps as well.